morning, so I'm not like a total loser or anything. Like, I go outside and I do things that are not sitting in a chair and looking at a screen all day, but at the same time, I'd like to think I'm pretty good at video games in general. Way back when I was a wee lad on Christmas in like 2013 or whatever, I got a PS3, which was really the first time I could actually play like real games. I played like Angry Birds and stuff before that, but never any of the cool ones that everyone else was playing, like Minecraft or Buzz Quiz World or stuff like that. So I promptly spent the rest of my Christmas money on Minecraft, and the rest is history. As I've grown up, I don't play as much as I used to because I'm like busy being outside and always walking around and stuff, but even still, I definitely do play a lot of games today, and probably more than the average person. Like, again, I'm not a loser. As I've played all these games, I for some reason have always been inclined towards more difficult games. Not because I like difficult games per se, but because for some reason I just seem to play them. That doesn't answer the question of why at all, but like I genuinely don't know. So out of all these treacherous romps, which is the most difficult? I have a solid case I can make for like 3 of them, and before you go saying your favorite game is the hardest, just know that these are only games I've played. But wait, Celeste is the hardest game ever, and I can't believe you didn't put it at the top. Okay, like, fair point, but I low-key only played it for 45 minutes, so it doesn't count. Alright, enough about that. Let's commence. Okay, so the first game I got is Geometry Dash, and I just want to get this out of the way because I'm sure this is number 1 on like every educated person's list. Geometry Dash is probably the hardest game ever, like straight up. The skill ceiling is non-existent, and some of the garbage that people beat nowadays doesn't even make sense. So this means Geometry Dash is the hardest game ever, right? Video over? Well, not exactly. I think that yes, Geometry Dash is probably the hardest game in terms of raw skill needed, but since it's got an ever-growing cap on how hard it can be, pause, I think it's a little unfair to just crown it off rip like that. Next two I'll talk about I don't think are purely as difficult, but in a different way I think they can compete. Okay, anyways, back to Geometry Dash for a sec. Yeah, the levels people are beating are like nuts. There's like 8 billion frame perfects in a row, and somehow people can do this without even like seeing half the level. I've played Geometry Dash for like 10 or more years at this point, and I'd say I'm pretty good at it. Like, I've beaten an Extreme Demon and can pretty much one attempt anything less than 10 stars if I get lucky enough, but the skill gap between me and like an 80-year-old grandmother in a retirement home is so much smaller than the one between me and like the best Geometry Dash player. Like, what am I even looking at, bro? What is... So yeah, I'd say Geometry Dash is number 1 in terms of sheer difficulty, but, you know, why not take a look at what the next couple have to offer? So the second game I have is Rocket League, and this is another game that doesn't really have a skill ceiling, or at least not yet. I feel like every time I see highlights of like RLCS or whatever it's called on my TikTok, it's just like some dude quadruple resetting full field against like 3 other professional Rocket League players, and I don't even know how that's possible. I personally started playing Rocket League in 2019, I think, and I got pretty addicted to it over COVID for some reason. There were a lot of days where I'd be in class and I'd just have my PlayStation 4 on. I know, I upgraded, and just be locked in and like flipping wheels or whatever for credits. Man, they need to bring back training. That was so peak. Too bad they're greedy and stupid and... So skill-wise, yes, Rocket League is ridiculously hard, at least like to be good at it. I think it has the least compelling case out of the 3 games we have today, just because even if you're in like Bronze 1, you can still beat other Bronze 1s, so it's not like you're terrible. Like, you're obviously better than some people. So at that point the question becomes, when are you good at Rocket League? Which I'd say is probably being in the top 25%? I don't know. Maybe top 50, just as a safe estimate. Really, there's no actual way to check or clarify. There's no like objective goodness at Rocket League, but you know, that's what I would say personally. Now for me, I just hit Grand Champ, so yeah, I know, thank you, really, you're too kind, thank you, come on, thank you. So for the sake of organization, let's just say so far we have Geometry Dash at number 1 and Rocket League at number 2. And let's see what we have here in this last slot. Oh, it's gonna be SILSKONG, isn't it? Yep, it totally is. So the last game we have here is SILSKONG, and I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm just gonna like group SILSKONG and Hollow Knight together because I feel like it. Both are pretty comparable in difficulty in my humble opinion, so I'll just save myself the extra labor and I'll talk about them simultaneously. People all over the world talk about how difficult these games are, and for good reason. They're completely unforgiving and force you to learn their mechanics no matter how weird they are. I think I can confidently, or at least semi-confidently, say Hollow Knight or SILSKONG is the hardest Metroidvania at the very least. I've played games like it, like Nine Souls, both Ori games, Cheese Game of course, and a few more, and I feel like they were all a fair bit easier to get the hang of than the Hollow Knight games. Nine Souls is the only other one I would say came close, because my god, some of those bosses were absolutely brutal, but it severely lacked in platforming difficulty, which the Hollow Knight games definitely did not. I think that's probably the main reason I'd say they're the hardest. They're incredibly challenging in two different aspects of the game, those being combat and platforming. Like I said, the bosses in Hollow Knight and associated titles aren't the hardest, but they're definitely still a good challenge. When you combine them with the basic enemies, like the primal aspids and this whatever, and then add the platforming, which can be ruthless at times, you get a ridiculously challenging but rewarding game. Path of Pain is the obvious example for this kind of thing, but even like the surface climb, like the Abysscape, these four roses, for some reason, it's not like Path of Pain is the only challenging platforming section in Hollow Knight. So, like, does that mean Hollow Knight is actually the hardest game? I'd say, yeah, for single-player games at least. I don't think it's the hardest overall, and compared to the other two, I think it's an entirely different type of difficulty, so it's a little hard to compare, but that's just where I think it stands. So, let's get some final thoughts. Overall, I think I'd probably rank them as Geometry Dash 1, and then Hollow Knight, and then Rocket League. I think that makes the most sense based on what I've said so far, and I think it's just honestly the right ranking. People always talk about how difficult Geometry Dash is, and for good reason. It's a ridiculously hard game, especially at the top, but that's not to say that these other two games don't provide a good challenge that is definitely worth trying. So that's it. This was kind of a short video today, but honestly, I just thought it would be kind of fun. Also, it gave me a reason to just brag about how good I am at these games, so there's that too. I feel like since I have the time now, I should probably like ask to see if there's any type of videos you guys want me to make. I have a few ideas and haven't really fleshed any of them out, so you know, I'm open to ideas. Some of them aren't related to video games at all. Some of them are like design things. I can do like sports ideas. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just like kind of wondering if people would be interested in this at all. Let me know. I don't know. Like I said, I really have no clue what I'm doing with this channel. I'm just kind of making whatever at this point. So suggestions and ideas are more than welcome. So yeah, that's just about it. Thank you for watching. Comment your favorite vegetable, I guess, and why, and I'll see you all maybe soon. Maybe. Okay, bye.